So yeah, Claudia, please go ahead. All right, awesome. Welcome, welcome everyone. Thank you for coming, for joining us for for this event. My name is Zarko. I'll be one of the co-hosts, although I'll be mostly in the background, except for right now. Why am I introducing this session? Because I, together with Claudia and Ray, who's not here right now, we're co-stewarding an emergent community of community builders in international development and peace building humanitarian sectors. And so part of the effort, really with the main objective to connect people who are building communities of practice and others, for greater impact, and would like to learn from each other in terms of how to do it better. So it's really about connecting practitioners. And so as part of that, we're happy to co-host this event. And I'll share the agenda and the learning objectives in a second. But first, maybe a couple of kind of logistical notes. One, the recording we already covered that. Two, I think it would be great if you can rename yourselves and just add your location to your name, just so that I think it'll be interesting for us to see where we're all coming from. And then three, for those of you who may be just joining us, who joined in the past minute or two, do put a quick intro in the chat. Some people have already done that, so just do a quick intro in the chat again, so that we can start to get to know each other. And then finally, if your bandwidth allows you, it would be lovely if you could turn on your video so that we can actually see each other. Again, like we understand that for some people that's difficult, due to connectivity issues. But if you can, please do. This will be a fairly interactive event, so we want to be able to see each other. And on that note, I think we're probably all used to Zoom, but if not, like if you go to the view at the top right, you can turn on the gallery view, so that way you see really everyone instead of just just the speaker. So those are the quick logistical notes. Now, briefly about the event, and then I'll turn over to Godfrey for his introduction. So, the event. Why are we here? Well, we're here to hear from multiple people about their experience building a COP, and what we can all learn about that. So hopefully in the next 90 minutes or so, you'll enjoy a really cool and interesting story. You have learned about quite a few useful resources. You would have heard how one COP has offered value, specifically in Nigeria. And you'll also be able to meet new people and reflect through dialogue about their experiences, and grab something for yourself that you can apply in your work after we leave. And to that end, in terms of the agenda itself, like we're doing the brief welcome and check-in. Then we'll hear a couple of stories, and then we'll be in groups, discussing and reflecting on the experience, repeat it again, and then that's about it. So Godfrey, would you like to introduce yourself as well before we do the check-in?
Oh, thank you, Zarko. Actually, you've said everything. So I can just introduce myself. My name is Godfrey 𝐋𝐢𝐬𝐬. I work with Tostan. I am a trainer at the Tostan Training Center. I'm also a technical program advisor. I also support the partnership team, and I work very closely with Nana and Ann on the community of practice, and I'm also part of the advisory of the LAFIA Community of Practice group. So I would like to take this opportunity to welcome all of us, and also to thank our co-hosts for this amazing event. learning event. The World Bank, thank you. GFC, thank you. And Torsten team, and all the LAFIA members and other partners that have joined from Malaysia and everywhere, please. Thank you and feel at home. And let's share and let's learn together. Thank you. Back to you, Zako. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Godfrey, so much. So in terms of our first activity, we'd like to check in to really get everyone present and connected to one another. So, and also, to meet another person. So we'll do a quick 5-minute activity where you'll be in a breakout with another person, and you get to exchange a little bit. So the prompt is very simple. I'm putting it also in the chat. Which is what brought you here today? What brought you here today? And of course, a quick introduction with the person that you end up in a room with. All right. So I'm going to click the magic button and then see you back in a few minutes. All right, welcome back, everyone. I think we have everyone back now. So before I turn it over to Anne for the next piece, I hope you had a good conversation and you met somebody new, although I realize some people didn't. Some people ended up with people they already knew, but that's also fun sometimes as well. And so the invitation here is to take a minute to just write in the chat, just in a sentence, the same prompt, like what brought you here? Why are you joining us, today? Just in a sentence, put it in the chat. And then also, if you came a little late, like I know there were a few people who joined right as we were getting into the breakouts, you're also welcome to do a quick intro in the chat as well. All right, learn from people's experiences. Great. What else? Yeah, we're all passionate about learning from others, especially. All right, what else? Yeah, connect with other people, of course, in addition to learning. Yeah. Get ideas on some of the challenges. Yeah. Hear about problems that COPs face. Yeah. Oh yeah, different perspectives. That's also important. All right, perfect. Thank you so much for sharing. Now, Anne, over to you.
I'm enjoying what's in the chat, and my name is Ann Hendrix-Jenkins. I have been working as a consultant with Tostan over the years, which I'll tell you more about. And I just want to say thank you so much to Zarko and Claudia and all of your colleagues for hosting us on this amazing platform and community that you have created over the years. Because as I will say, so many of the materials that you all share are just invaluable with the kind of work that we do. So it's an honor, and I am going to go ahead and share my screen and run through a sort of overview of, I'm going to start my timer. You should be able to see my screen that says the story of the LAFIA Community of Practice. So what I'm going to talk to you about is what is this community of practice? What steps did we take in order to co-create it? And what are some of the resources that we found useful that you all also might find useful? Because as you know, this is very complex work that we do. So, so first I'll just say who TOSTAN is, in case you don't know, and what the basic overview of the LAFIA Community of Practice. TOSTAN is a civil society organization that's based in Senegal, founded in 1991, and focuses on positive social transformation and sustainable development through a holistic, empowering education program. So TOSTAN has been around for a long time and reached and connected with a lot of people, more than 5 million people across 8 African countries. So TOSTAN has a training center in Senegal, and where there's a lot of events, a lot of training events, wonderful stuff. Any of us, you know, would also always love being there, not to mention that the food is very good too. But a lot of people came out of those training events and opportunities, and they wanted more. They wanted to continue the learning. They wanted to continue to be connected. And because, you know, those of us who work in community-led development, it's a lifetime learning opportunity. So they decided to sponsor or serve as the secretariat for a new community of practice to enable this to happen. Again, with the focus on what is called community-led development. So this is an overview of, just to get you started, this is the community of practice. This is sort of our summary charter. It's known as, formally as, the Amplifying Sustainable Community Well-Being Community of Practice. In this community of practice, experienced practitioners strengthen their abilities to support communities and their leaders to lead their own development. They feel the need to co-create their own ways forward, and they use processes and tools to co-create collective agendas and foster action for sustained community well-being. And we're also known as the LAFIA group. I'll tell you more about that later. But you can see that there's a lot in here. But at the same time, we worked very hard to get this down to this level. And this is kind of our guiding star. So the steps, I'm just going to walk through the steps that we took to create this, because we sort of, you know, co-created our way forward together, and it worked pretty well for us. So the first thing we did was we assembled the core group. I'm sure many of you know what the core group is. It's the like the heart of this community of practice. And we used a lot of materials, again, from the World Bank Community of Practice materials, all available online, and just super great materials, so practical. And so we needed to start with the core group. So the difference between this and some other things is like some people in Washington or London sitting and writing a proposal and putting all this in there without the actual people who would be at the center of the whole thing. So we were able to start with the center. Here's just a list to give you an idea of the core group. We reached out to people who had done the trainings, who were well known in the community, and asked them to apply to be a member of the core group, submit their applications, make the commitment, and that's how we got it. So you can see we have gender balance, different ages, people from different places, etc. But almost everybody is from a civil society organization or works very closely with civil society organizations. And we'll hear from Ajay and Ame in a little bit. There's more people from the core group. And what an amazing group of people. I would vote for these people to like run the world if I could. But we really have a good time together. And then also people from TOSTAN as well. And then Nana, who's with us today, joined as the community coordinator. So that was the first step, assembling the core group. The second step was to orient the core group and manage expectations. And just like in this meeting today, we realize that people's time is valuable, and that going to a meeting should be a positive thing where you come out of it feeling like that was great, instead of like an obligation. So we really focused in every meeting on making sure everyone had a chance to get to know each other and build the human connections. Learning and practicing new knowledge and skills. It's always nice to just learn something new. And also, obviously, make progress co-creating the community of practice. So due to the nature of community-led development, we really have a strong stance on integrity, which is that our design and actions align with the values and principles that we espouse in community-led development. So that means not top-down, not dictatorial, not driven by outside, expertise that rules the local expertise, and the idea that if everyone can be involved in a positive way, amazing things can happen. So then this next step, after we oriented, we had to co-articulate the basics. I'm sure a lot of people know about this definition of a community of practice, which focuses on people, passion, and practice. So we spent a fair amount of time getting very clear on those three elements. And people are, as I said, it's the Toast-On training alumni, also Toast-On staff are involved, and then sometimes we have invited practitioners or other special guests. The passion, as I've already said, is community-led development and community well-being. Everything we do is about enabling more of that in the world. And then the practice is this COP is a place where practitioners convene to inspire, gain skills, create and curate knowledge, recharge, and collaborate. And the structure and processes of our community of practice enable it to achieve its goals and objectives. So again, it's hard sometimes for people to remember what a community of practice is because it's a little bit conceptual. So almost at every meeting, we start by getting back to this just to refresh everybody's memory and see if it still seems right on target. So then another important thing we did is we surveyed our brilliant core group members, because it's one thing to talk at a meeting and it's also another thing sometimes to sit back and reflect. And so we did some great surveys that really contributed. Here's one example of a question on the survey. What key values or ideas do you believe should inform the governance and decision-making of the COP? Now you can see these responses, very thoughtful, some overlap, some differentiation, great vocabulary to choose from. So we could choose words and ideas that resonated from all of us. And this is just one of many questions. So this really gave everybody time to think about these things. It's not that our COP members had ever done this before, but with the right questions, they had the knowledge and the ideas in order to be able to express them. Okay, so we also picked a new name. Here's I think we all know this. Don't stick with the name core group because it gets confusing because there's a million core groups in the world. But so we picked the name LAFIA Group, and that means peace in multiple West African languages. And we had a good time picking that name. It was fun. We had a contest. So then the next step was step 4. Now we had to actually do the work. We had the people, everyone was oriented, we had the general idea, and then it's like the nuts and bolts, right? So we've cut into 3 subgroups to be more efficient. And so we had one subgroup that looked at the community of charter, starting with the purpose and drafted it. That's what I showed you earlier about what our purpose is. And that was a lot of work because there was a lot of different ways that could be framed, and then brought it back to the group. And then again, the group commented on it. We kept refining it. Great process, really a learning process in and of itself. Obviously, we needed to talk about governance, which is authority, how decisions are made, power dynamics. The decisions and the power should primarily rest with the members. There should be principles and roles, but you need some kind of structure there in order to have good governance, just like in community-led development. And then the third group looked at the initial setup and the structure to start working on the technical content, which is, the point of the whole thing. Then we brought in Nana, our community coordinator. And of course, that took a fair amount of work. We had to do the job description, work with TOSTA, recruitment, et cetera, always trying to make sure our actions matched our words. And it worked out great because Nana is amazing and she's perfect. She does incredible work. So then the community of practice today has over 200 active members. It has WhatsApp groups, it has special events, it has things going on within countries. It's a very lively place, and just as we had hoped. So I am going to just share with you a few highlights, design considerations and recommendations that we came out with. I can never overemphasize the power of co-creation and the need to do it at every step, and it takes extra effort. So don't forget, don't just say co-creation, do co-creation. For governance, we decided to get away from a board of directors because that's not aligned with the ideas of community-led development, and it's got legal and complex ideas associated with it. So we went with an advisory group. And instead of getting a community manager, we got a community coordinator. We made a point to start simple. We created a simple initial structure. We were thinking ahead so that later participants can join and not feel like, oh, these people all already know each other and do I really belong here? We methodically started from scratch, a lot of emphasis on communication and inclusion. These slides will be available later if you want to look at them in more detail. As I mentioned before, we really moved away from the idea of a community manager towards a community coordinator because a manager makes decisions and delegates and things like that, whereas a coordinator organizes, facilitates, brings everybody together, sets the stage, communicates, and it's really a lot of relational work. So you have to have those good relational skills. The COP structure, okay, this looks a little complicated, but the point is, on the left, the COP has to be freestanding, make its own decisions, not just like a project of TOSTAN, because then it would be directed by TOSTAN. But at the same time, TOSTAN provides tons of support in all kinds of ways, that including hiring some of the staff that work on it and providing so much incredible content, because that's kind of how it all got started. But at the same time, not, you know, being the boss of the group, so that the LAFIA group is its own entity. We use user perspective and human-centered design, and the key question that we all always need to be able to answer is, if someone says, why should I participate in the COP? Should have some compelling answers. So then I'm just going to show you a couple of resources that we found, because we find that it's important to use different kinds of resources. There's this Cultivating Communities of Practice Quick Startup Guide. This is just a piece of it. It's one page. It's so good. I recommend looking it up. We'll share the links. We also use the collective impact approach as a way of organizing ourselves, and that has 5 elements: engagement, vision, the kind of activities, the learning and adaptation, and the container for change, which is like what holds it all up. So again, there's a lot of rich body of content there that is very helpful to help you keep on track. We also use the community of Canvas. Some people may be familiar with that. It's a nice visual thing. And, you know, we use pieces and parts of, or we look at things from different perspectives using these different tools. And then this is one last thing that helps you focus on collective efficacy as sort of your goal of your community of practice. So that's the quick run through. Thank you for your patience with me while I spoke quickly, but you can always go back and look at the slides. So yes, I see man, I was having some audio issues, but hopefully that's okay. So that's the big overview. And now we are going to come together and talk to one of the members of our group, 𝐿𝐬𝐬. Let me introduce 𝐿𝐬𝐬. And 𝐿𝐬𝐬 and I are going to spend a couple of minutes talking, because we can tell you what it looks like from the real down-to-earth and super exciting perspective. So 𝐿𝐬𝐬.
Yes.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine. Nice
I'm so,
listening to you.
yes, I'm so happy to be with you today and to give everyone a chance to learn directly from you. So I'm just going to start us off giving you a chance to tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, thank you, Anne, and thank you, World Bank. Thank you for Global Fund for Children. Molly for creating Toastan and giving us the opportunity to learn. Thank you to Kola, who introduced me to Toastan. Thank you, Anne, for doing this. And thank you, everyone, and all the members of the advisory group for selecting me to participate in this webinar. Thank you. My name is 𝐋𝐢𝐬𝐬. Robinson. I'm a mother. I'm an honest, loving, transformational, and passionate person. I'm the founder of a non-governmental organization called 𝐂𝐬𝐬 Foundation in Nigeria. I've been working for the past 2 decades, trying to enhance the quality of life of vulnerable girls, boys, men, and women in the society in general. That's what I've been doing for the past 20 years. And I think that's just me. And I'm a passionate person, I'm honest. And also a member of the advisory group of the COP. I'm also a Toastan facilitator. Thank you.
Thank you, 𝐻𝐢𝐬. And so I'm just going to get right to it here and ask you this question. You are obviously a busy person, professionally and personally. And so I remember when we invited you to become a member of the core group, and we were hoping that you would say yes, but we were worried that you would be so busy. What was it that you decided to prioritize being a member of the core group and helping co-create this? What was your motivation?
Thanks so much. Okay, the motivation was the learning in the TCC.
The Toastan Training Center?
That is the Toastan Training Center. After hearing, the results that Toastan has been having over the years in their communities, and you're thinking in your mind, you mean this can happen? You mean you can get some results with this approach and all that? And when it was immediately after, I think you had a session with us on the movements, how movements come up, how they die, how they transform, and I was, curious to really learn more about what is the COP. I wanted to learn more, and because I felt, I needed to hear more so that I can go back to Nigeria and, maybe step down or take on some of the approaches to use in my work. So it was first curiosity to just to learn what the COP was all about, and to learn, to unlearn, and to relearn also. So that was one of the things that drew me to joining the COP, and it has been fun because it was all about everybody bringing in, what they learn, what they are doing, and curating. You took us through so much, and it was such an enjoy. Every time we come together, we're learning something new. We're trying to, dissect some things that we know. We're trying to unlearn something. So it has been really, though very, very, it takes a lot of your time, those meetings that we had with you, but it was very, very interesting. It was because it was a human angle. It was a human angle perspective. All of us wanted to learn more. I wanted to give back what we've learned because we really wanted to see those transformations happen in our communities, in our homes, even with ourselves. The Toastan model doesn't stop at the community level. It starts with you. You transform before you can transform any other person. So that's just that for me. Thank you.
Amen. Amen. We did have a good time, and we did it together.
Yeah.
Which actually is a perfect segue to the next question. So then I wondered if you could tell us a little bit about what is happening in Nigeria as a result of this COP getting up and running.
Okay. So for me, you know, let me just go back a bit. You know, I came to learn about Tostan in 2018 when Collard just posted something in his group and said, communities are leading their own, you know, change. And they are changing their communities, they are abandoning. And I was like, really? Which community? And he was showing pictures of what Tostan is doing. And he was in Senegal. So I reached out to him and said, what are you doing? What's happening here? And he told me about this wonderful organization and all that. And I was like, I really want to learn more. He was like, well, you need some funding to get there or scholarship. And I don't know what was happening. And one day he told me Tostan was going to be in Nigeria and they were doing a scooping exercise. That was in 2019. They came and did a scooping exercise in my office. Then I was the coordinator of state coordinator of Orphans of Vulnerable Children Association in Nigeria. And he came and I was part of those that Birima and Godfrey met. And they did some scooping exercise. They did a 3-day training in Nigeria. Then we were now invited to come to Senegal to do the 10 days training. It was, wow, man, you mean this is true? You mean, and we went to the communities. We saw what was happening and we were challenged. It was a challenge. We were like, okay, something is happening here. You mean we can use these methods to change the situation of communities in Nigeria, where communities themselves will lead their own change. So it was that for me. And after we came back from the 10-day, we were also selected back to do for the 3 weeks training as facilitators. So when we were trained as facilitators, we now came back to Nigeria, and that's 17 of us who were trained in Senegal. We came back to Nigeria and went back and stepped down this training in 7 states. Nigeria is a big country, you know. So you can imagine 17 people coming back to do this training in 7 states of Nigeria. Not less than 100 people participated in those step down training. And I was part of one of those that also facilitated the trainings in 2 states. And I cannot begin to tell you what is happening in Nigeria. A lot is happening. And since then, since we came back, we have been learning, we have been sharing amongst ourselves on an individual level, organizational level, community level, and also even on the national level. A lot is happening. People are asking, people that are trying to implement the approaches that we learn in Tostan are still asking us to support them to implement. Some people have heard about what the Tostan model is and they are curious. They call us. So when they call us, the COP members that are in Nigeria, we call each other to support each other in, you know, doing these capacity trainings and all that. And I must tell you about one of the stories I just learned about.
Okay, we have 1 more minute. I told you I'd warn you. Go ahead. Oh, wait, we can't hear you now. Aji, we can't hear you. Are you muted? Can you unmute? Just on the verge of the story. Yes.
Okay, I think it's working now.
Okay.
Oh.
Go ahead, Aji. Yes.
I'm back.
You left us on
I should go on?
cliffhanger. Go ahead.
Okay. So Now people are collaborating on many levels. You know, there's problem sharing. People are innovating on the approaches that they've learned, especially like the CMC, the visioning and all that. People are adapting some of the models. Now, what struck me really is that International Labour Organization just recently have adopted to use the CMC, that's the Community Management Committee model that Tostan taught us, and they are already implementing in 20 communities of Ondo State in Nigeria. And the COP members are collaborating amongst themselves to do this capacity training to other people who have never learned it. And this is already ongoing. And communities themselves are developing their vision boards. Communities are realizing the visions of their communities. They are already leading their own change. And currently now, ILO is willing to support these community members to fund their action plans that they have developed themselves. They are funding it in order to monitor, that is, child labor in Ondo State, because Ondo State is like a corridor for traffic, you know, persons, and that is a good place to do that. So that is just an international level, or is it international level, I would say now. So the model is being adopted. And this is just a few stories of what the COP members are doing in Nigeria. Miriam's organization, that's Child Not Bride, is supporting Dr. 𝐋𝐢𝐬𝐬 to implement the whole of the model in a community that had no education at all. Today, they are building schools, they are building their conveniences, they are building their hospitals, they are building. The change it's mind-blowing because of what is already. I can go on and on and on what is going on.
I'm telling you, Aji, we need an hour-long webinar just to build out what you're saying. And one thing that really stands out to me is that the communities are building their own action plans, and the ILO is funding those action plans. Another way of development is ILO writes the action plans in some, you know, Europe or the United States, and then pays people to implement them. This is, you know, localization at its best.
Yeah.
Communities that are capable of coming up with the best plans. Thank you so much, Aji.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I can tell you, if you should run for president of Nigeria. Okay, so in the interest of time, we are going to go to breakout groups. And so I'm going to share my screen to show you what we're going to use in the breakout groups. Which is Jamboard. Some of you may or may not be familiar with Jamboard. You should be able to see the Jamboard. So here's the way Jamboard works. It's like you just click on this little thing here, sticky note, and then you type here, and then you get to even pick your color, and then you push save, and here your thing gets saved. So I encourage you, you don't have to use this in your breakout groups, but if you would like to, please feel free to record your thoughts on these sticky notes, because it's a great way for others to hear what you all talked about. And so you can see up at the top here, if your board gets full, everybody's just going to use the same boards. You can click to another one or click to another one to find space. So we encourage you to go ahead and try and use those if you would like, but please don't feel obligated. Zarko is going to put the link to that in the chat. So what are you going to talk about in your breakout groups? Here's your prompt. What have you heard today, so far today, that reminded you of your own experiences and that you feel is important to note, or is new and surprising to you? What questions have arisen for you that you'd like to find answers to? And remember, we can use what comes out on this Jamboard for more conversations in the future. So feel free to put as much content on there as you would like, if that's your inclination. So I will stop sharing. I want to remind you that the link is in the chat to get into the Jamboard, and the prompt is in the Jamboard. So turning it over to you, Zarko.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Ann. I think we're ready to go. You have the links. I see a bunch of people have joined the Jamboard. You have the prompts in the Jamboard as well as in the chat as well, so that you know what you're talking about. You have about 15 minutes. And I'm going to just to make sure that this travels with you into the breakouts. I'm going to paste it one more time and then open the rooms. So see you back in about 15 minutes. Okay, welcome back. I think we have everyone back. And so now, before we move on to the next part, we'd love to hear from a couple of people about what insights, what reflections you had in your breakout. So just a couple of people in a minute. If you'd like to share back, please do. You can raise your hand physically, virtually, however. Yeah,
Sorry,
Fatuma, go ahead.
Oh, thank you so much. We got a little bit of technical issue to like get together and discuss. So I was in a room with a person who had not joined Tostan, who has no experience, being trained in Tostan or joining Tostan in any way. So she was trying to consider, to look at the training manuals and toolkits that have been put down out there by the likes of UNICEF, UN organizations that are meant to bring about development in the community. And then she was asking if, from my experience, having on-site training like that of Tostan, if it makes a lot of difference and change compared to those manuals that are just put there online for someone to read and, work from what they have learned in the manual. So I was saying from the experience, I see a lot of change made from the on-site training, especially when you look at the trainees that have attended those who are trained and allowed to facilitate in the community is really making changes. So she was suggesting, like, how can we access this Tostan training? Who is funding it? And from the experience, I explained that most of the trainings that I have had experience with at Tostan, it is mostly funded by Tostan itself. But then she was saying it might not work for everyone. For everyone going on site and at Tostan Training Center. And she was having this idea of how, as a COP member, have this plan of having the Tostan training online, and so that we can accommodate more people. So that was really our conversation.
Great, thank you, Fatuma. If anybody else wants to share something quickly, you can also do that in the chat, but also don't forget to put a post-it in the Jamboard, because we'll keep this and we'll harvest, this together. In the interest of time, Ann, back to you for the next part.
Okay, thanks everyone. And thank you, Fatuma. We hear you loud and clear, and we're all about creatively trying to get these content to the people who want it. I'm gonna switch gears now to a conversation with my colleague, Ame. And she's a member of the core group. And first off, Ame, thank you for being here today. And thank you for all that you have done, incredible work with the community of practice. So let me give you just a moment to introduce yourself if you would like to.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Ame Achu David. I am from Togo, but I'm based in Liberia, and I am the co-regional director for Africa. I work with Global Fund for Children. And Global Fund for Children is a public foundation that fundraises to support community-led organizations. We are all over the world, actually, but I lead the initiatives in Africa.
Great. So one of the things we're especially interested in hearing about from you is from the funder perspective, because as a person who works with a funder, you are participating in the COP, which is a lot of practitioners. And I know that sometimes it can be awkward for funders to participate in some groups because there might be the expectation that it's all leading to funding. And I wonder why this maybe was different for you, or how you chose to participate in this, and what meaning it has for your work as a funder.
Great. It's been, thanks to everyone for joining the call. And it's been a great pleasure being part of the COP. Maybe a little bit of how we ended up joining as a funder. So we, as I said, we support community-led organizations. And then we had funding to support community-based organizations in Liberia and Sierra Leone to find innovative ways of addressing the root causes of violence against girls. And when we did our scouting, usually we do scouting, we don't do open calls. We go in the field and we meet amazing organizations that are working in the rural areas, in the communities. And one of the things that they highlighted is they have been working with the communities, but they are not seeing any changes. So we decided, well, maybe it's time to learn about other approaches in order to see whether what they are doing is how they can improve on what they are doing. So we heard about TOSTAN, and then we decided, well, it might be a good thing to just learn, go to TOSTAN Training Center and learn how they are doing the community-led approach. So we sponsored our partners, but we also decided to go to the training center with our partners, because for us, it's not just about the funding. It's about also providing capacity development. It's about mentoring, coaching, and supporting our partners to be able to achieve concrete results. It's not just for the partners to please us with a lot of matrices and telling us what we want to hear, but it's about seeing real changes. So we all went to the center and we learned. Along with our partners, we learned a lot of things. How the real community-led approach is supposed to be done, how the community is supposed to be at the center of everything. So when the partners went back to their various countries, one of the things that happened, 10 days of training is not enough to claim to know everything. And we acknowledged that. So we went back to the partners and said, how can we continue to support you? We know it's difficult. We know if we don't support you, you are not going to implement anything because you are confused right now, but we are here to support you. And that's where the value addition of the COP is. Because of the community-led approach, then the partners and ourselves, we knew that we'll get the necessary support to be able to implement the community-led approach. Because what we have learned from TOSTAN is not just overnight that you master everything. So in the community, the COP, we were now fortunate to have access to the skills, other partners who have gone through the process and who have learned and can share with our partners. And we also learning from them. TOSTAN staff, the technical people are there to provide the necessary resources. And that's what we've been having from the past. It was since 2021. Since 2021, we've been benefiting, both our partners and ourselves, benefiting from the rich resources within the COP.
Wow, Ame. I really appreciate your humility, your focus on learning. And as in the world of community-led development, I believe that the idea is that the human potential, the human value is not at a university or at headquarters. It's at the community. It's in the community. And it's all of ours job to serve those communities so that they can realize their potential. And you bring the funding perspective into it in a way that is kind of unusual, I have to say, but we all learn so much together. And I think one other thing that you did mention, which is an interesting aspect of this COP, is that a lot of people in the COP did spend time physically together at the TTC, at the training center. Not everybody, but enough so that you feel like that's a way to sort of jumpstart things. Would you say that's important too in this case?
No, it's important. So I was sharing in the other group that we just came out from, that what makes the COP unique is that you have to go through the training. It's not just a COP where you say, I'm interested and then I come. Where you build your foundation from is from the training that you get. You need to get that training. You need to go to the TTC to really understand what the community-led approach is. So what binds us together is that common understanding, that common dream that we want for the communities. If you don't go, you won't have that dream. So it's very important for people, anybody who wants to join or have a foundation, for those who want to create a new COP, what binds you together? What is the vision that you have? So I think the reason why some COPs don't work is just because you just come because you don't have one dream. You're not together. So it's very important to have that foundation.
No, that shared dream. Yes, that is. And actually now you are helping us segue a little bit into the topic that you suggested, which is a great one for our next breakout group, shared ideology. Yes. So one thing that we struggle with a little bit in the COP is how to connect virtually in a way that helps promote the shared dream and the warm human connections. We have a lot of different WhatsApp channels, one different WhatsApp channel for each group of alumni that are separate from each other. But one thing that we would love to have, and this also goes with some other things we said earlier, what kind of platform could we have? What kind of tech platform could we have? And Ame, you were the one that sort of called this out as maybe one of our next bigger challenges. What would you like to see that platform? What would it serve? What functions do you think?
So first, it's good to highlight that although we having issues with the connection virtually, the COP has created the forum, different fora for the members to meet and to continuously learn from each other. So we were fortunate to have, for example, when we're doing our learning review, to have some of the members to support in designing the questions. We called on Tostan to come and amplify the community community management committee, because our partners were finding it difficult, and it was a one call, 2 hours, where we got our partners together, and then the COP members were able to take them through. So there are different ways of keeping the COP relevant, but also the virtual one. The difficulties we are having is how to create a platform where we can interact. So right now we are having the different communities together, but the difficulties. But what is needed is for us to continuously share resources, practical experiences of what is working in one community, skills, and just supporting one another, encouraging one another. It's not just about the funding. I think it's much more about having the same understanding and having the support needed to be able to implement the community-led approach the way it's supposed to be in the various communities, and share achievements, great things and best practices that are being done in the ground, but also the challenges. And then we all reflect on the challenges and find solutions.
Thank you so much, Ami. That is our next big challenge, right? And as a way of getting us started, think of priming our brains. We're going to go into one more breakout group, one more sort of relatively quick breakout group, with the idea that we can brainstorm what that platform, what that tech platform could look like. What features might it have, or what tech platforms exist already? I think Jordan was already mentioning something relevant to this earlier. So just imagine, it needs to be interactive, but it also needs to be accessible. So one contingent element of it might be, should be accessible by a smartphone, right? Because not everyone can sit at their computer. So we're going to send you into breakout groups, again, to the the Google Jamboard that says what the tech challenge is. And so we would like a platform where all COP members could come together, where they could meaningfully interact, share their experiences and recommended tools, ask for help, and more. I think the link is in the chat. And if you can come up with ideas for potential solutions, or even just any comments you have about what that might be or what that might look like, we would really appreciate that. Okay, so I think we can go to breakout groups now. Feel free to use the Jamboard again. New Jamboard link.
Yeah, make sure to click on that new link and use it. And if you run out of space, just move to the next slide. All right, off you go.
Thank you.
Great. We just have a couple of minutes left. We have so many rich ideas that we got started. So I'm going to say thank you to everyone and turn it over to my colleague Godfrey for a couple of reflections, and then Zarko has an announcement or two to make at the end. So without further ado, turning it over to you, Godfrey.
Thank you, Anne. Thank you very well. It has been amazing conversation, and we see very amazing reflections and insights from everyone, and that shows that the groups were really active. If you look at the Jamboard. So now, before maybe we go into the Jamboard and just share some key highlights, we would also like to hear from you, maybe on the chat. What has really surprised you? What have you learned? Something that you've learned that is new, or what has been reinforced. So feel free to share on the chat. And also, looking at the Jamboard, something that really struck me a lot was about the belief that it is possible to have a people-led COP that is anchored around relational, well-being, And also, someone talked about something that is very important that I think Anne can echo as well, that co-creation is key in having a COP that can have members engaged and even can sustain their participation. And this requires patience and open learning. And also, another one of the participants also said, it is important for us to know that we need to focus on the values, not the organizational structures. And this resonates a lot with what Torsten model is all about. And maybe, I know we'll share the Jamboard, you'll be able to see because of time, but I just wanted to say one thing that sometimes makes the Torsten seminars a bit different, and that is why sometimes very complicated to have them online, is the fact that the Torsten seminars, the learning and sharing seminars, does not only focus on the content, it also focuses on the experience, where you have to experience the model. And for you to do that, you will learn about the process. So this is an evidence-based program where you benefit from the content, you have an experience, but you also understand the process of delivering the content. That is what I really wanted to add, that is very critical. That sometimes even made it very difficult for us to even have some of the curriculum online, because if you give you that way, it might not help you a lot. You might just have the knowledge, but you might not know how to actually apply the knowledge. So living it and experiencing it can really enhance that. So now feel free, put your comment on the chat, and please, once you see the Jamboard, go into it. There are amazing feedback there. There are a lot of questions, and there are also great suggestions on the platform that can be used and what needs to be considered. So now over to Zakuna. Yeah.
Thank you, Godfrey. Yeah, just to reiterate what Godfrey just said, please do write in the chat, you know, something you learned, something you're taking away from today, something you liked. You know, as you all know, or I imagine, you know, reflection is very important, and this is how we also learn and integrate. So it will be great if you can share it as you leave. And then two quick things. One, for those of you, I think there are a few of you who may not be familiar with our community of practice that I mentioned at the very beginning. So I'm just putting a link again. If for anybody who's interested in possibly joining a space with other community builders, you know, to exchange ideas, share insights, etc., there's the link. And then the second note is for current members, which of whom I see, you know, quite a few. Just as a reminder, you know, that we have our stewardship circle nominations. This is still going on. You still have a few more days to add your name to the list. You know, it'll be great if you consider doing that. So if you're not sure what exactly I'm talking about, just refer to our last email or my last email to all of you about joining us with Ray and Claudia to govern the work going forward and making more events like this one, you know, possible. So thank you so much. Thank you, Ann and Torsten and Godfrey and Ame and Aji and everybody for participating and for making this possible, and for most importantly for sharing, you know, such insightful such an insightful story and with so many lessons. I think we have a lot of artifacts as well. We have the PowerPoint with resources. We have you know, the Jamboard. We'll have even this chat where some stuff was shared. So we'll make sure we'll kind of compile it and share it back with all of you in the next few days.
Thank you.
Thank you again. And
Sorry, just wanted to mention something.
Oh, sure, Nana. Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, Nana.
There is an opportunity for us to find something that works for the difficult. In some of the groups I've been in, suggestions around integrating something into WhatsApp. So it's like a challenge now for us to work with Tech for Good companies and find a way to really tech for good for the communities that we convene with and the communities that we work with. So this is like a challenge to everyone.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Nana. And thank you, Nana, especially because you're the one who made the first you had the first idea for this event. So we really appreciate it.
Yes, thanks, Nana. And goodbye, everybody. Happy Tuesday.
Nana, quick question. Tech for Good,
Thank you so much.
Is this a brand name or?
Tech for Good is like technology for development purposes. So people use that a lot in development sector. And yes, we have reached out to TechSoup and Tech.io. We have had conversations with them last year. They said they are ideating and developing different plugins for WhatsApp.
but nothing yet that would help us. For instance, the community feature on WhatsApp does not allow everyone chat. It just allows you have subgroups. So the little things like that seem make it a little bit exclusive, and it's not supposed to be so if you're using it for the actual purpose community gatherings. So yeah, we're still ideating around it.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.